I'm posting this because honestly, it's been stuck in my head for almost 2 years now and I need to get it out somewhere. I was around 27 at the time, working a pretty standard office job and mostly just going through the motions. A new person started in my department and we fell into a casual friendship. It was nice having someone to grab lunch with. Looking back, it all felt very normal, just a series of coincidences at first, but it's been hard to shake the feeling that things weren't quite as random as they seemed. The lunches with Mark continued. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we went to the deli down the street. He was just easy to talk to. We'd complain about work, weekend plans, the usual. It was a good distraction. Then it started being too much of a distraction. I remember one Thursday I was running late. My alarm didn't go off. It was a whole mess. I was scrambling, grabbed the first decent shirt I could find, a dark blue button-down, and bolted. I didn't even really register Mark was already at the deli when I got there until I was practically on top of him. And he was wearing the same shirt. Not identical, but the same shade of blue, same style. A little weird, right? I just laughed it off. "Great minds," I said, and he chuckled, saying he'd picked it up on sale last week. Probably just a coincidence. But then it happened again, a different shirt a week later, but the same thing. And then with a pair of shoes, black leather, the kind I'd been eyeing online. He said he'd found a good deal. I started paying more attention, noticing little things. He started bringing in the same kind of herbal tea I liked, saying he'd decided to try something new. It really hit me though. When I got to my desk one morning and there was a small package, there was no card, just a framed photograph. It was a picture of my grandmother's house, the house I grew up in, the one she'd passed away in 2 years ago. He knew how much that house meant to me. He'd asked about her once briefly. I just froze. I didn't know what to say. I immediately locked my computer, gathered my things, and went to the bathroom. I sat in one of the stalls for 10 minutes, just trying to breathe. Maybe he'd found it online. Maybe someone had shown it to him. It was a common style of house, but the angle, the way the light hit the porch, it was the exact photo I'd used for her memorial slideshow. I started taking the stairs instead of the elevator. It felt ridiculous, like something out of a movie, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew when I was using it. Not like he was waiting for me, but I'd catch him glancing in that direction, just as I reached for the button, and he'd smile. A small, quick thing. I started varying my lunch route too. Not avoiding the deli completely, because that would be obvious, but taking different streets, looping around. One Tuesday, I decided to go completely off book and grabbed a sandwich from the place near the park, a 10-minute walk the other way. When I got back to the office, Mark was at my desk. He hadn't been there when I left. He was holding 2 coffees. "Thought you might want one," he said. "Heard they had good sandwiches over there. Figured you might be going that way." It was the "figured" that got to me. How could he have figured? I just mumbled a thank you and took the coffee, avoiding eye contact. I started leaving my backpack at home, just carrying my laptop and a water bottle. Less to track, I guess. It felt pathetic. Then there was the weekend. I'd mentioned casually that I was planning to go hiking at Blackwood Forest. Just a throwaway line during one of our lunch conversations. I hadn't even really decided yet. Saturday morning, I woke up and my car wouldn't start. Dead battery. Okay, things happen. I called a taxi, resigned to a day at home. But when I got to the trailhead, there he was, Mark. Hiking boots, backpack, the whole 9 yards. He said he'd decided to go for a hike and remembered me mentioning Blackwood Forest. He seemed genuinely surprised to see me. I think for a while I convinced myself he was just lonely. Desperate for connection. Maybe he had a crush on me and was just trying too hard. It didn't explain the photo, but it felt less terrifying than the alternative. I started leaving work early, just 15 to 20 minutes. I said I had appointments, errands, anything. It was pathetic pretending my life was so busy. The truth was, I just wanted to get home before him. Not that he was waiting for me, I didn't think, but the thought was always there. Last Thursday, I decided to try a yoga class. A new studio had opened a few blocks from my apartment. I hadn't been in months, but I figured a little exercise might help with the constant knot in my stomach. I got there early, signed in, and grabbed a mat. And there he was, Mark. He blinked, surprised. "Oh, hey, didn't know you were into yoga." I managed a weak smile, just trying something new. Class was awful. Not the yoga itself, but him. He was good, unnervingly so for someone who didn't know I did it, and he kept glancing over, not staring, just checking. During Savasana, the final relaxation pose, I felt a presence. I opened my eyes a crack. He was looking right at me, a small smile. After class, I practically ran to my car. I drove straight home and locked all the doors. I needed to think. Someone at the studio must have told him I was there. Maybe a mutual acquaintance. It was the only thing that made sense. Then I found the note. It was tucked under my windshield wiper, a small folded piece of paper. It had just one line, "Enjoy the stretch." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unfold it. I looked around frantically. No one. Just parked cars and the evening shadows. I crumpled the note in my fist and threw it in the trash. I didn't sleep at all that night. I called in sick the next day. I said I had a migraine. It was partly true, honestly. The pressure behind my eyes hadn't gone away. I spent the whole day cleaning, rearranging furniture, anything to feel like I was doing something to fix this, like I could scrub the feeling of being watched off my skin. I thought about going to the police, but what would I even say? My coworker is being friendly and leaving me cryptic notes. They'd laugh me out of the station. It was just unsettling. Not illegal, not yet anyway. I decided I needed to be proactive. I changed my yoga class. I found one on the other side of town, a real trek. I didn't tell anyone about it. I even took a different route home from work for 1 week, varying it each day. I felt ridiculous, like a character in a bad thriller, constantly looking over my shoulder, but it felt necessary. Then, on Saturday, I went to the farmer's market. It was crowded, bustling, exactly what I needed to feel normal. I was picking out peaches, carefully squeezing them, when I felt that familiar prickle on the back of my neck. I turned. It was Mark. He was a few stalls over, examining tomatoes. He saw me, gave a little wave, and then he bought the exact same peaches I had, the same variety, the same amount. He must be going to the market every Saturday. It's a popular place. It doesn't mean anything. People like peaches, but he was smiling, that small, knowing smile. And he held up the bag, just for a second, as if to say, "Look what I got." That night, I found a package on my doorstep. There was no card, no return address. Inside, a small ceramic bird. It was identical to the one I kept on my windowsill. I hadn't mentioned it to anyone ever. It was a gift from my grandmother. I just stared at it. The peach fuzz felt gritty in my hand. I gave the ceramic bird to the police. Finally, they took a report, but the officer just kept looking at me like I was wasting his time. He said it was probably a prank, a misguided attempt at a joke. He suggested maybe an ex-boyfriend. I told him I didn't have an ex-boyfriend. It felt dismissive. After that, I just tried to be boring. I stopped taking the long way home. I went back to my regular yoga class. I figured if he wanted to find me, he already could. Maybe he'd gotten it out of his system. Maybe it was just some weird, twisted way of trying to connect. I started leaving my curtains open, a pathetic attempt to show I had nothing to hide. I haven't seen Mark since. Not at work, not at the market. He just vanished from my periphery. It was unsettling in a different way, almost worse. I started thinking he'd been some kind of lonely, harmless eccentric, a man who just needed a friend and went about it in a profoundly wrong way. I still check my doorstep, though. Not every day, but often. And I never buy peaches anymore. They just remind me of that smile. I also avoid farmers' markets altogether now. Too many people, too much open space. It feels exposed. It's silly, I know, but I can't shake the feeling that if I went back, I'd be looking for him in every crowd, scanning faces. It's been almost 3 years. Sometimes I wonder if I imagined the whole thing, if the stress just created a phantom, but I still keep that police report tucked away in a drawer, and I still double-check the locks every single night. It's just a habit now, I guess, a quiet, automatic thing.